You mentioned nuclear weapons. I was hoping to get answers from you, since one of the many things you've done is economics. Maybe you can understand human behavior, why the heck we haven't blown each other up yet. But okay, so we'll get back.
I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, it's really important to say that we really don't know. And
A mild uptick in wisdom.
A mild uptick in wisdom. That's, well, Steven Pinker, who I've talked with, has a lot of really good ideas about why, but nobody really.
I don't trust his optimism.
Listen, I'm Russian, so I never trust a guy who's that optimistic.
No.
Either.
It's just that you're talking about a guy who's looking at a system in which more and more of the kinetic energy, like war, has been turned into potential energy, like unused nuclear weapons.
Wow, beautifully put.
And now I'm looking at that system and I'm saying, okay, well, if you don't have a potential energy term, then everything's just getting better and better.
Yeah. Wow, that's beautifully put. Only a physicist could. Okay.
I'm not a physicist.
Is that a dirty word?
No. I wish I were a physicist.
Me too. My dad's a physicist. I'm trying to live up to that probably for the rest of my life. He's probably going to listen to this too. So,
Hey, Dad.
Yeah. So your friend Sam Harris worries a lot about the existential threat of AI. Not in the way that you've described, but in the more...
Well, he hangs out with Elon. I don't know Elon.
So are you worried about that kind of, about the... about either robotic systems or traditionally defined AI systems essentially becoming super intelligent, much more intelligent than human beings, and getting.
Well, they already are, and they're not.
When seen as a collective, you mean?
Well, I mean, I can mean all sorts of things, but certainly many of the things that we thought were peculiar to general intelligence do not require general intelligence. So that's been one of the big awakenings, that you can write a pretty convincing sports story from stats alone without needing to have watched the game. So, is it possible to write lively prose about politics? Yeah, no, not yet. So we're sort of all over the map. One of the things about chess, there's a question I once asked on Quora that didn't get a lot of response, which was, what is the greatest brilliancy ever produced by a computer in a chess game? Which was different than the question of what is the greatest game ever played. So if you think about brilliancies as what really animates many of us to think of chess as an art form, those are those moves and combinations that just show such flair, panache, and soul. Computers weren't really great at that. They were great positional monsters. And recently we've started seeing brilliancies. Yeah. And so
a few grandmasters have identified with AlphaZero that things were quite brilliant.
Yeah. So that's an example of something. We don't think that that's AGI, but in a very restricted set of rules like chess, you're starting to see poetry of a high order. And so I don't like the idea that we're waiting for AGI. AGI is sort of slowly infiltrating our lives in the same way that I don't think a worm should be, the C. elegans shouldn't be treated as non-conscious because it only has 300 neurons. Maybe it just has a very low level of consciousness because we don't understand what these things mean as they scale up. So am I worried about this general phenomena? Sure. But I think that one of the things that's happening is that a lot of us are fretting about this in part because of human needs. We've always been worried about the golem, right?
Well, the golem is the artificially created
life,
It's like Frankenstein type.
Yeah, sure.
Character.
It's a Jewish version. And Frankenstein.
Yeah, that makes sense.
That's right. So but we've always been worried about creating something like this, and it's getting closer and closer. And there are ways in which we have to realize that the whole thing that we've experienced, the context of our lives, is almost certainly coming to an end. And I don't mean to suggest that we won't survive. I don't know. And I don't mean to suggest that it's coming tomorrow. It could be 300, 500 years. But there's no plan that I'm aware of, if we have 3 rocks that we could possibly inhabit that are sensible within current technological dreams, the Earth, the Moon, and Mars, and we have a very competitive civilization that is still forced into violence to sort out disputes that cannot be arbitrated, it is not clear to me that we have a long-term future until we get to the next stage, which is to figure out whether or not the Einsteinian speed limit can be broken. And that requires our source code.